to another episode of Speak Podcast. Speak Special People Encouraging a Kid. This is your girl, Barisha, the host of Speak Podcast. And you know what Speak stands for, Special People Encouraging a Kid. And we're going to add a little another word to the K, and that's kindness, because we know that we are reaching more than just children, more than just our kids, and more than just our youth. We're reaching adults as well. So we are wanting to reach everybody. So parents, teachers, coaches, mentors, those who are working with children, we hope that this can help you or help you to lead a conversation with your child, with your students, of what we share here on the podcast. We always leave this disclaimer: if anybody, any children, youth that have experienced trauma, bullying, or even suicidal ideations, considerations, or even attempts to reach out to someone, talk to a therapist, talk to your parents about it, talk to someone to get your concerns, your hurt, your pain out. But also you can text 988 to the Suicide Crisis Hotline. There's someone available to help you, to speak with you, and to lead you in the right direction. Why? Because we want you to live again. So let's get into this episode of the Speak Podcast. I have my phone out because I have notes here, and I'm going to kind of relate back and forth to my notes so that I can help to share with you what it is that I am trying to relate to you so that you can be encouraged. The last episode, we talked about my brother. We were talking about, it was a dedication, like a memory of my brother. And we dedicated that episode also to siblings. And I hope that you have the opportunity to sit and watch and share. And it could be a discussion piece with your sibling. But it was also for me, it was helpful for me to just really share a little bit about me and my emotions and what I am going through since the transitioning of my brother. And that's grief. I am in grief, and I don't want to pretend that I'm not. I am not going to ignore it or suppress it. I'm going to grieve out loud because I need support. I need the help, and so I don't want to mask and just having the mental health education, counseling, and all of those things, knowing coping skills to use, knowing how to help someone else. I can use those things for myself, but I want to grieve healthy. I want to be able to grieve, and grief doesn't have a time frame. And so I give myself permission to do and to feel and to recognize what I'm feeling. So this episode is really talking about the 5 stages of grief. 5 stages of grief. And sometimes I think there may be a 6th stage. And I say that because, and I mentioned this before, how control, losing control to me is another stage. And I can tell you why a little bit later. So this is what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about the 5 stages of grief. And there's not a particular order. Grief happens to everyone. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. You can lose a sibling. You can lose a parent. Unfortunately, hopefully that wouldn't happen, but it does happen. It's a part of life. You can lose your job. You can lose a best friend. And loss doesn't necessarily mean to death. It can be the end of a relationship. It can be losing something that you value, that's valuable to you. It can be you lost a keychain or your favorite watch or purse or whatever the case, your phone. Hey, let's talk about the phones. You can lose something and it can be something that you value. And so when it's gone, when you've lost it, it hurt. And you deal with different emotions, and grief steps in. And so research have shown us that there's 5 stages to grief. And we're going to talk a little bit about those 5 stages in this episode. The first one is denial. The second one is anger. The third one is bargaining. The fourth is depression. And then the last is acceptance. And they don't have to happen in order. It really depends on the person. But we're going to talk about those 5 stages. And the first one is denial. When talking about denial, denial in itself is, it's really like when you hear about the loss, you're trying now to process this loss, and you're not accepting it, that it happened. You don't really believe that it happened, but there's facts to the loss, right? But you're not ready to accept it. And I just want to look at my notes really quickly. And it's really giving yourself time to really absorb what has just happened. There just has been a loss, whether it's been a death, whether it's been losing your pet. Your pet may have ran away, losing a best friend, losing your job, a loved one. And you're going through the first stage of denial. And I don't want to make it like the first stage, but according to research, the first stage. But you may not experience denial first. But in a way, you are trying to process it, you're taking it all in, you're getting the news, and now the process, the step starts. And you may be defensive. You may feel like, this is not real. I think about my brother. I'm going to use him because I remember when he received 12 years ago his diagnosis of a congestive heart failure and diabetes all at the same time. He went into denial. He did not accept it. He wouldn't accept it because, one, and these are his words, I'm an athlete. How could this happen to me? I work out, I do this, I do that. This couldn't happen to me. That's a form of denial. And it took him a really long time before he accepted the diagnosis. And before he accepted it, that time passed where he refused to take medication. He refused to go to doctor's appointments. And finally, when he decided, okay, I need to really help myself, that's when he began to start um, taking the medicine and doing the things that he needed to do for himself. Not always getting it right, not always taking the medicine on time, but he accepted the diagnosis and wanted to do something for himself. What is it that you have lost that you have not accepted yet? That you can't believe that this has happened? Let's say something as simple as, you studied for this test. You did the best that you could. You studied long, but yet you didn't get an A. You got a B or C or maybe a D. And you can't accept the fact that you didn't get the A. So you're in denial. You're trying to process it. You're trying to go through, hey, what did I do wrong? Right? You lost something valuable and you can't find it. So you're trying to figure out, how did this happen? Why did it happen? Where did I put it last? You're not accepting the fact that it's gone. It's no longer there. Someone as close to you as a loved one has passed. You're trying to accept the fact that this person is gone. But it either happened suddenly or it happened in stages and phases where this person may have been sick and you knew at some point that it was going to come. But even when death came, it's hard to accept. Death is not always easy to accept. So what do you do? What do you do when you're in denial? One thing that you can do is recognize that, hey, I have not accepted this yet, but this is something that is real. This is something that I can't ignore, but I am going to give myself time. So that is something that you can do, just recognizing that, hey, I've not accepted this, but I'm going to give myself permission to do what I need to do until I do accept. Whatever it is, maybe talking with someone, maybe going back and going back and taking steps like to where you may have lost something that's valuable. The person that your loved one that's passed on, maybe going back and looking at old pictures or looking at good things that you used to do with the person that you love to help you to cope with the fact that now this person is gone. And then the next stage is anger. When you're denying the fact that, hey, I've lost something, I can't find it, my loved one is not coming back, I can't accept the fact that this person is gone right now. The next step is anger. You become angry with sometimes yourself. You start to think of, what did I do wrong, or what could I have done better? You start to think, and anger and bargaining is kind of similar when it comes to the what if. We're going to talk about that when I go to the next step of, or the next stage of bargaining. But anger, you can spill your anger onto other people. I said the last episode that I'm going to try to be as real as I can. I want to be authentic. When my brother transitioned, a lot of anger came up in me. My emotions were all over the place. I was angry with the doctors. I was angry with not so much as my brother's passing, because I trust, again, I am a woman of faith. I trust God's timing and God's will. But I was angry with, yes, my brother's no longer here. I was angry with people, things that were happening, just even with leading up to my brother's funeral arrangements and different things. And so that anger began to um, display itself. It began to spill in conversation. It began to show itself in my actions, right? And so I want for you to even recognize the feeling of anger. What can you do when you feel angry of the loss? These are natural feelings. Don't feel ashamed. Don't feel guilty about the fact that you're angry that you lost someone, the person that you love, or you lost something that was valuable to you. Don't feel guilty about that, but do recognize when anger is rising up so that you won't react, so that you won't attack anyone, so that you won't display the wrong emotions or behaviors towards someone else, because that can happen. Again, grief is real. Grief is a real thing. And when grief becomes longer than 3 months for children, according to statistics and research, when it becomes longer than 6 months, grief then becomes prolonged grief. And you really need to get the help that you will need. Talking to a therapist, talking to a lay person in the church, or a counselor, or therapist, or someone that can walk alongside of you through this journey. Anger is real. Anger. So I want you to recognize the anger, do something about it before it becomes something worse, before you do something to someone else or say something that you really don't mean. You may even be angry with the person that is no longer here. One thing that you can do with that is write a letter. I've mentioned this before. That's something, a coping skill that is really a good thing to do. Like, you may have a journal that you write in your journal and you express the anger. Writing it down helps to kind of eliminate or relieve what may be suppressed in your heart, right? The goal is to keep living, to live again. So That's what we're wanting you to do. So journaling, writing a letter to the person, and you can actually prepare it to put, if the funeral hadn't taken place, or put it in a casket, or however the person is leaving this earth, cremated or whatever, but you can put it in something like a treasury box or something, and you can bury it if you want. You can, so that you wouldn't have to go back to it, but you're actually relieving it from you. You're getting it off of you. Or talking to a friend, talking to, again, your parents or someone that may not be grieving at the time, but have gone through something similar, right? So they're able to help you and understand and empathize with you, to walk alongside of you. And the next stage is bargaining. Bargaining and anger are similar. I said that earlier. Bargaining, you're often saying to yourself, what if? Or I could have, the should have. You're asking those questions. What if I did this? Even if you are a person of faith, you may be even bargaining with God. You may even asking or promising to do this if this person live, or if I can find this, or if you bring this back, the thing that you value or the person that you lost, if that person come back, or if I can find this most valuable thing that I love or cherish the most, I would do this, I would do that. Bargaining, there's a lot of emotions that happen here. It's very intense, and you're just really feeling vulnerable. You're feeling helpless at this stage, and you're wanting to make peace with what is happening, and you're trying to compromise. Now you're trying to compromise even your feelings. You're trying to compromise even how you're thinking. You're wanting things to change, and you're wanting things to be back to the normal, or back to the way things were. So what if I did this? Or what if I do it this way? Or if I get this back again, I'm going to do it like this. Then it's okay if you feel that way. Go through the process. This is a part of the grief. It's okay. But at the same time, there has been a loss. Go through the process of whatever the loss is, so that you can get to the final stage. I do that, the quote unquote, because I think there should be another one. But the final stage of grief, according to research, is acceptance. So you go through the denial, you go through the anger, and now you're bargaining of the what if. I would do this if I can have this person back. I can do this. I'll never do this again if I, the most valuable thing returned back to you. And so now you're at the last stage of, or I'm sorry, depression. Depression. Wow, let's not forget that. We're not at the last stage, because the last stage would be acceptance. But before acceptance, you go through a period of depression. You're wanting, there's so much noise going around. There's things happening, people wanting to come around, but you're wanting to just be by yourself. You're wanting to be quiet. You're wanting to just be in a place of not really accepting, but you're going on with life. You're going on with life. You're maybe focusing on work. You may be focusing on um, other things. You may even just wanting to turn the world upside down. You may want to turn off the lights and just be by yourself, be quiet. You may want to lay in the bed. You may want to pull over the covers over your head. You may want to just put everyone out. Depression is real. And there's another conversation even about depression, because there's clinical depression as well. You can find yourself getting so depressed where you're finding yourself in a pit, in a dark place, where it's kind of hard to pull out. Depression may feel like the inevitable landing point of any loss. However, you may feel stuck, like you can't seem to move. You may go get back to work, but you're not being effective at work. You're not being your best at work, but you're there. You're just coaching. You're just trying to survive, but you're not your best you. You're not showing up as your best you. So that's a part of depression. Recognize that as well. What can you do to pull yourself out of this depression? It is happening, and it's something to deal with. So when you go through the depression of wanting to put everything out of your way, but you're just showing up, you're just surviving or whatever, the next stage that you go through, a part of grief, is acceptance. At this stage, you are accepting the fact that your loved one is gone. Your loved one is no longer here on earth. Your loved one is no longer here in the physical realm, in the physical sense. But you do have your loved one's memories. You do still have your loved ones' pictures. You have your loved ones, some of their belongings. With my brother, um, as you saw in the last episode, his picture I get to look at, or I have one of my good friends, Pamela, made the cup with pictures of me and my brother, my mom and my brother on. So I get to use that to drink. I get to look at some things that he left behind. I also get to live healthy. I get to do things that he was trying to do, right? And I think about his strength. I think about how he showed up being strong for me, that I can continue to show up for others. I can continue to be the best that I can be and show up strong. Not that I'm being strong in my own strength, but I have an anchor. I can lean on that. I don't have to lean on my own understandings, that I can lean on what gives me strength, and that is Jesus. And so think about what you may be going through, and at the time now you're accepting the loss and what you have, not to replace the loss. If it's something valuable like a phone or a keychain or something that can be replaceable, then you can do that. But accepting that a loved one is gone, you still have those memories that you can hold on to. So again, there's 5 stages of grief. I would say there's another one. And I talk about the control because that's something that I had to recognize that I needed to let go. I needed to let go of the control, wanting to know the why, the when, the how, with my brother's passing, even controlling things after the fact. So grief is, again, inevitable. I've said the word so many times. It's going to happen to us all. How we deal with it matters. And so I hope that when you do go through the 5 stages of grief, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, that you come out of it better, that you come out of it feeling that you've learned something through those processes, that you will be able to help someone else, that you receive the help that you're going to need, that you have support, that you have a support team, your family or friends, or you are seeking counseling or a therapist that can help you maneuver your way through these processes so that you can live to live again. That's what Speak is all about. We are special people encouraging a kid to live again, to speak up, to speak out. to speak from within. Thanks for joining us here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and to share. Until we meet again, Speak Podcast, special people encouraging a kid, and kindness. See you soon.